Hello. Welcome back. Did you think that you were ever going to see me again? Be honest. I quite honestly, I did not have any, I don't know why I'm so red, by the way. Back to the Oompa Loompa. But I did not know if I was ever going to record another episode again, but here I am. For those of you that are familiar with human design, I am inconsistent. So, if Jenna Zoe needs an example or like a face next to inconsistent, I am that. I am the perfect embodiment of inconsistent. Um, for those of you that are not familiar with human design, I encourage you to learn more, to learn about what your energy type is, what your profile is, whether you're inconsistent or consistent, whether you have passive or active brain. Um, yeah, all of that fun stuff. But anyway, uh, interesting thing. So, where to even start? Because it's been 2 years. I don't know, but I'm going to start first by expressing why I'm here. So, a couple of weeks ago, I've had my mic out, and a couple of weeks ago, I know this is going to sound odd, but it was like, hey, remember me, old friend? Remember? Remember me? Come chat with me. Come talk with me. And so I was like, okay, I see you. I see you, microphone, trying to get my attention. And so I just kind of like, you know, f- continued on with my life. And then I went out to the mountains for a few days, which I hadn't done in a long time. And yeah, stayed up in Boone. And for those of you that are listening, you know that the western part of North Carolina was heavily hit by Hurricane Helene about a month ago now. And and yeah, obviously they've suffered tremendous amounts of, I'm going to call it disruption instead of devastation. You guys know I like to choose my words wisely. But they seem to be, and I overheard this statement multiple times while I was there. They seem to be very like open to visitors. Obviously, October is their peak tourism time, and them not having the economical impact that usually has, the economical influence on the community that usually has. They are suffering, right? So I just want to kind of go on the record to say I I stayed just outside of Boone, but Boone is open, and you honestly would not know that a hurricane of that fierceness came through the region a few weeks ago, other than just overhearing a lot of people talking about it. Um, in addition, I did go to Blowing Rock. Blowing Rock is also open and welcome to visitors. So, this is what I'm going to say. If you feel called to go out there, go. Okay, because they do need you and they do want you. And like I said, that was expressed multiple times by people within the community throughout my visit. So, yeah. So, anyway, I just got back and it was funny. I woke up this morning and I just knew that today was going to be the day that I was going to record a podcast episode. Spirit was just like, today's the day. I'm like, okay. Um, so here I am. I do not have anything that I said to Spirit, I'm like, okay, fair. I'll get to that. But like, what is it that you want me to talk about? And Spirit was like, no, no, no. Like, just go, go, go do you. So I am here showing up as I try to do, right, to the best of my ability. So yeah, just welcome in. Uh, it's good to be here. I quite honestly cannot believe how much time has passed and just the flow of energy since. There has been a lot that has unfolded on a personal level, on a business level over the past 2 years. That it's not necessarily has taken me away from the podcast, but um, quite honestly, I've just been limited in how, I mean, I guess you could say that. I've just been a little limited in how many different areas I can show up. And I think something that is not talked enough about is how, we, especially when we're more mindful and when we're trying to approach our life from a higher perspective and be really conscious, when we have to choose what it is that we value, it can be very difficult to say, okay, this is how much energy I have. And I want to speak in energy. I don't want to speak in time, because I don't really think that time is it. I think it's energy is where it's at, right? So it's just like, this is how much energy I have. And I personally, and maybe I have no idea, but I feel for the most part that other people in my circle would also say the same thing. I approach my life I have very high standards for myself. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to show up unless I can actually show up. Like, I'm not going to show up unless I can really energetically bring everything that I am, like bring everything. And what I mean by that is it's like, can I be fully present? Can I, um, yeah, is my, are my channels clear? Am I feeling, does the idea of doing the thing, right? Does it light me up or does it contract me? And so that's where, like, really, like, I'm not going to engage in something unless I know that I can bring my best at that moment in time. And yeah, truth be told, like the rest of 2022 was kind of like a whirlwind in terms of there was a lot of change. I do not have an audio engineer anymore for the podcast, as well as a video editor. So I am without that. So just keep that in mind if you are watching this right now or listening to this right now. Like, this is edited completely by me. So likely there's not going to be like the typical intro that there is on the previous episodes or all, or any of that. But um but yeah, so there was changes in that area and it was really interesting because I didn't really feel comfortable moving forward without an audio engineer or a video editor because I just knew that it was going to within my own within the things that I'm really excited about and passionate about, those two things are just kind of like low on on the rating scale. Uh and yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of wanted that's just kind of how I felt at the time. And so I did put it out there that I was looking for both. And nothing came through. And so I kind of went with that and I went with what I was feeling called to the rest of that year, which obviously there were some changes within my business. I joined a holistic center here in town. There was a lot of new things that kind of came into um, that kind of came into being that I birthed. One of which is Sourceer, which for those of you that did the Power of Eight groups with me, Sourceer is much like that, only it's far more potent. I love it. It's one of my favorite containers. The other container that was birthed last year was Wild Woman Wellness, which, oh my gosh, you guys, I still, I still just cannot believe that, like, I just am feeling like all of the women that are within my lineage, right? All of the women, my mother, my aunts, my grandmothers and my great grandmothers, and going back generations, right? Like, oh God, I just felt like I just had them behind me, and all of their ancestral wisdom just came through with that container. And uh they really urged me to, after I hosted the container here in my physical location of Wilmington, they urged me to bring it online. And that was a task that was a big task, quite honestly. I give a lot of credit to those that have created any type of program or container online, because it's an undertaking. And it required me to move into deeper levels of patience and surrender um and love for myself and all of my imperfections, because obviously as you're teaching and you're recording yourself, it's just a lot of work around just embracing what is and being present with what is. And yeah, so I just am really, I don't want to say proud, because I don't feel like I really don't feel like any of the work that I do is me. But just because that was such a big thing, it just felt, I don't know, like it's almost like I'm just proud of my ancestors, if that makes sense. Like it's like I'm actually more proud of them, because it's like, wow, thank you for allowing me to channel this information and bring this to people. Because I know for me, it's been living within my DNA. Um, and it's been living elsewhere, and it's been reflected back to me, things that I've integrated into my own life and just have, been incredibly life-giving and meaningful. So anyway, that was another big part of last year. And so obviously when we're talking about an energetic, you know, um, exchange, these are things that just required a lot of me. Um, and yeah, so I just didn't feel like I could really show up for the podcast. And I can't even tell you, because you all, if you have been here and you've listened to previous episodes, you all know how I work. I work based on what I feel called to do. And so I can't really even say whether I'm going to have, the space to continue being consistent with episodes after this one. I think, quite honestly, there was a lot of rigidity in the beginning um, around the podcast. And just looking back again, I think it's okay to have standards or ideas as to how we want things to go. But um, I think in some ways, what I've come to realize is, if it keeps me from doing what I feel called to do, then I have to loosen, right? Then I have to become more flexible. I have to actually recognize that it's like, well, actually, spirit is calling you to exist in this space with this flexibility, right? So anyway, um, I guess I am saying that, should this vehicle, right, continue to move forward, I feel that it's going to move forward in this type of format where it's just uh, a little bit more flexible, not having an audio engineer, not having a video editor, unless, of course, through I attract that back in. Um, but for now, I just want to go back to basics and answer the call. Okay. That message actually has been coming in loud and clear lately of kind of returning. And so I think collectively we are, well, collectively, if you've been paying attention at all to the astrological shifts, we have been in this Aries North Node, Libra South Node um energy for the past like year and almost a half. It comes to conclusion January 11th, so 111 for those of you that love numerology. That's when it moves into Pisces because the nodes they're kind of working in retrograde, so to speak. Um, but yeah, this Aries North Node, Libra South Node energy. I know that I'm a little late to the party to inform you of this, but not necessarily if you haven't been aware of it. It is an energy of shifting to prioritizing ourselves, getting clear on what it is that we want, what it is that we need, what it is that we value. The Aries North Node, many of you know if you've been listening, I am an Aries sun, and the Aries energy is, it is kind of like the baby of the zodiac, but it is the ego. It is very much, and I'm not saying in a negative way. I just mean it is the ego. It is the capital I. It is also the Fool in the tarot, which speaks to, this childlike abandonment of just setting off on a journey and not really caring about like consequences, not really giving thought to that yet. More so living in the moment and in the freedom of just being able to make decisions and yeah, kind of being the fool, like I'm going to do it now, think about it later. Which of course, to the extreme, probably not necessarily what you want to do, but obviously there's positive and negative qualities within each, right? To the highest expression of Aries is the Emperor. And that can look like, the emperor having dominion over his kingdom, right? Like that's the highest expression. But then like to the negative, it could be like a little too controlling or rigid, needing things to go your way, kind of being a little too stalwart, too stubborn. Um, so yeah, that's what this energy has been. And then, Aries and Libra are they're on the relationship axis. So when we're on the relationship axis, what we're really kind of doing, especially with the North Node and the South Node, right, is we're saying, what do I need? What do I want? And then like, how does that influence my partnerships? How does that influence my relationships? What does that mean for how I interact, how I relate to people, or, how I even show up, right? How do I show up in relationships? Um, and so there is this deep kind of like purging and rebirth of the self and what the self, basically the full encompassment of the self, what it knows, what it needs, what it wants, what it values. Um, and and then like how does that impact my interactions in the external? So that's kind of what we've been experiencing since July of 2023. And like I said, that ends in January of 2025. So you may have noticed that people, they may appear, again, this is all based on your perspective and how you choose to look at it, but they may appear like they are becoming more selfish, like they are prioritizing themselves. And depending on their emotional intelligence and their communication, right, their level of being able to communicate and articulate themselves well, um, that can look many different ways, right? Like it can look like someone just saying, "Hey, like I'm realizing like this is something that I'm learning about myself, and thus because I'm learning this, I need this." And yeah, I don't want you to take it personally, or I don't want, so there can be some communication around that. Or, obviously to the opposite of that, there could just be like either people cutting kind of directly, cutting people out of their lives, or or just being very like, because they just don't know how to navigate those types of topics, it could come across as, again, kind of like selfish or self-centered. Okay. Um, so yeah, we've been really, that's what we've been experiencing. And it just seems like, I think I think for those of us that are tuned in to that energy, there's an awareness that it is because we are needing to shift towards the creation of a new structures, new systems, things of that nature. And we need to be able to come at that from a higher level of consciousness. We need to be able to come at that from a higher love of self, a deeper understanding of who we are, what it is that we need, what it is that we value. Value is going to be a really big, it's a really big piece to all of this, because as what we value as an individual, that changes what we value as a society. And then, of course, that changes a lot of these systems and structures that we have in place. So, so yeah, I believe right now we're at 5 degrees Aries. So as this energy, shifts and it comes down into 3 degrees, 2 degrees, 1 degree, and crosses over in January. But as it comes down to January, we might see this happen a little bit more depending on what you've been doing for the past year and a couple of months. This might become a little bit more abrupt. You might start, if you have not taken action or you have not faced the truth, when it comes to your authenticity, then, reality just may be it might become a little bit more of a struggle. Okay. Like it just may become a little bit like, you're in quicksand, or you're just like having a really hard time moving. Um, yeah. So just be mindful of that. So if you feel like there's been this invitation for you to look at or learn certain things about yourself, or, to reassess your relationships, to reassess what it is that you value, to prioritize yourself, and you've been denying that invitation, or like just refusing it, just being like, no, I'm just gonna keep that over there, then yeah, the universe is gonna just make things a little bit more stickier. So yeah, I strongly encourage you to lean in. Lean in. Um, but yeah, so it's been really interesting, because I think I know within my community, which obviously consists of me, my circle, the circle that supports me, but then also the community of people that I work with, that I, am just so incredibly blessed to walk beside, that yeah, this is just showing up in a lot of different ways, and it's really being very thorough. And it's been beautiful, because I really have been able to witness my own growth when it comes to relationships. And it quite honestly has felt very, very liberating, because I feel for myself a lot of what I have had to um, transition out of, which I've been transitioning out of, right, for a while. But again, levels, there are depths to things. Um, and so a big part of it is like codependency, right? Codependency within my friendships, within my partnerships, um within the work that I do, right? Uh and so it's just been really interesting, because I'm seeing it. Yeah, I'm just like seeing my friends evolve and ask for new things, and it's just really incredible. It's really beautiful. I mean, to me, like, but again, I feel like I'm very lucky, and that I'm surrounded by a lot of individuals who are, extremely emotionally intelligent, can articulate, um, and yeah, express their needs, even though things, sometimes that feels scary. Um, so if you're finding yourself in that place where you are struggling with, expressing your needs, um, or, maybe noticing that you lean on others too much in terms of like maybe needing their approval or taking into consideration their opinion. Why do we even seek opinion? Like asking those types of questions, like maybe before you dial I mean, we don't dial numbers anymore, but before you ask Siri to call a specific person, you ask like, hey, why am I reaching out to this person? What is the actual intention? Like, what is my motive? And like to be real with yourself. And I think, when we're still when we're still exercising a lot of judgment, I think that being real with ourselves is really, really difficult. Which is why, like, I just encourage you, like, the more that you can kind of step outside of judgment and see that there's a purpose for everything and that nothing is bad and nothing is good, that really it just is. Um, that the more you kind of release yourself from that, you can ask yourself these questions and be very, very real. And it can be incredibly expanding because you liberating because you can just kind of see, oh, okay, like I'm reaching out because of this. So it's like, okay, so clearly this is a need. Is this a need that I want to continue, or is this a need that maybe I don't necessarily need anymore? Right? Can you meet yourself in that way? Only you can know. But just like asking those types of questions can really shed a great deal of light upon all of your little, all of those unconscious parts of ourselves that we kind of just act on. And so we're really being given a moment to see those things and to clean it up. Um, so yeah, but if you, like I said, if you're having any difficulty exploring that, you can quite honestly refer back to some of the podcast episodes that I recorded around relationships. Um, and of course, there's so many other resources. There's just so many other resources. I do have a container called Radical Love, which is very much about um, radicalizing love and intimate partnership. But like that does speak to yourself first. That's what we're doing first, is we're creating an intimate relationship with ourself. And then that, the more that we refine that, the more that we clean that up, obviously we naturally attract the types levels of partnership that we want to experience, whether that be experienced through friendship, through community organizations. Sorry guys, I keep hitting my mic. Um, partner, like intimate partnerships, business relationships, all of it. So, it is, after all, connected. Oh, man. Totally unintentional, but I do love it when that happens. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what is going on. And I think quite honestly, that could be part of why I'm being called to revisit this. Um, yeah, it may be part of it, but we don't really know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm just allowing space to see if there's anything else here that spirit wants to possibly bring through. But I'm being told, nope, that's it. Okay. So so yeah, I guess I'm gonna wrap up this episode. Before I leave, I want to invite you to Alter. Alter is an online membership, excuse me, where I think it's like $11 a month to start, which is the basic, which is just having access to weekly Zoom live calls, where I do some one-on-one coaching within a group setting. Um, but we also talk about everything under the sun in regards to spirituality and oneness, personal development. We do talk about astrology, human design, shamanism, um, earth medicine, basically like every single week is just, sorry. See, if I had an audio engineer, he would be taking these out. But yeah, every single week, let me just grab a sip of water. Every single week, that's a little bit better. Yeah, so every single week is just, flowing with the energy and what is wanting to come through. Sometimes that looks like me channeling information directly from spirit in regards to maybe the energy of the moment, or even like, um, I mean, it's always energy of the moment, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, sometimes it can look like that. Sometimes it's, we do meditations or other types of healing practices, some like embodiment work, um, breath work. So just I basically offer you everything that I offer my clients. We just do it in more of, well, I wouldn't say it's more of a flow setting. It's just a dedicated time every single week, which it is transitioning. So for the past, it's always been 10 a.m. on Sunday, but I believe that it is going to transition to a weeknight. Um, so just be, obviously, if you go to kimberlydam.com/alter, you'll see like what time it is. But the all of the live calls are recorded, so you can watch those after if you don't make the live call. But yeah, so basically some one-on-one coaching in a group setting, and then talking about anything really that is like wanting to come through. But yeah. And then, from there I have like upgrades available. A lot of people are a fan of I think it's like around $40 a month um for like a reading. So you get like a monthly energy update in your inbox every month. So that's like really, a lot of people are a big fan of that. Because it's personalized. And then there is another upgrade, I believe, available for right now, which is $99 a month for a 45-minute coaching call once a month. And then of course that's in addition to the basic. So yeah, just some things to think about if you're finding yourself like wanting more, just like a little bit more guidance than like, listening to a podcast episode or watching like a YouTube video. Those options are available. And of course, any of the other offerings that I have, shamanic healing sessions. Um, is that really it? No, radical love. Oh, oh, living spree. Living spree is amazing too. I just praise, just praise. Living spree is amazing, but it is for those that are more advanced. But feel free to take a look. All of it is on kimberlydam.com. Go there. Dam is D as in David, A as in Apple, M as in Mary, like the Hoover Dam, which I now am waiting for someone to make a joke about that, and we'll just leave that there. But anyway. Okay, guys, I think that this is it for this episode in 2024, maybe the only episode of 2024. But I do love you and I greatly appreciate you. And yeah, I just am sending you lots of love and lots of healing wherever you are in the world. You are doing a great job. Okay. Being a human being at this point in time, in space, you're doing a fabulous job. Okay. All right. I love you.